Oops, and there we go. Go ahead. So, who are you? Tell us why we're here today.
I am Toby Christensen, the chef and owner and creator of Taco Bar, ?
Yes.
In Davenport, Iowa.
I love that it's question mark because we are friends, and your menu is constantly changing. So, kind of tell me why the Taco Bar question mark. Where did this come from? What was the idea? Tell me how that came.
The question mark serves a couple purposes, and quickly for the number one question that you're asked on a Friday and Saturday night is, where do we go to eat? And you say, Mexican, Chinese, burgers, Taco Bar? It's kind of an invitation, actually. So when you're driving by, you see the sign or you see the logo on a billboard, it's asking you the question inside your head, and you already know the answer to that. So there's a marketing aspect to that, because as a chef, you kind of have to think of those things too. It's not just all cooking food, making it look pretty, mopping and cleaning. A lot of it is the branding and the imaging and sort of the experience that you're trying to sell. And the other part is we just like to keep you guessing. So you come in here and it's Taco Bar question mark, and you see a bar burger on our menu that's stacked this high with some secret sauce. You're not really that shocked because, hey, there's a question mark in the logo. So
I love that. I guess I never thought about that's a constant argument in my household is, what do we want to eat tonight? So I love that that's the question mark. And then the fact that you come up with random or different menu items to go along with that, the fact of the branding like you talked about. So let's talk about your educational background with that. So, like, do you have a marketing background at all? Is this something you had to come up with?
Well, I don't have a marketing background per se. Been in the business 28 years now, so it's been a long time. I do have a business background though, so that does help, but I didn't specifically go to school for marketing. Rather, I sharpened my skills, pun intended, with the whole culinary aspect and the business side, which I think meld well, obviously, if you're gonna be not just a chef, but also a business owner, which I think most aspiring chefs would prefer to be both. But be careful what you wish for, because wearing a lot of hats can get tedious and overwhelming at times. So
I love that.
So, at what point in your life did you just say, I want to be a chef, I want to make food, and this is just my passion? So, did you go to schooling for that, or is it?
I think you have to actually wake up every day and say that to yourself to stay in the industry, to really be in it, because it's a passion-driven industry. It's one of those that, I was cooking at 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
Literally. At one point, my mom came home from work, and I think I was 5 at the time, kindergarten. I might be a year or two off, but had a full-on meal, had used the oven and stove. I grew up on a farm, so it's one of those things where, mom left you home for a few hours by yourself, you're fine. I decided to make a meal, and did it without burning the house down, so I think it kind of started there. You discover some of these passions, I think, organically on your own as a kid, young adulthood and so on and so forth, but, honestly, my first job, I started off the farm. I learned the hard work ethic on a farm, and that's really what it takes to make it in this business. But my first job was at a Chinese restaurant.
Oh, okay.
I'm Korean. Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, raised by Scandinavians.
Okay.
On a farm. So you can about imagine what kind of issues were brought up at that point.
Yeah.
I should just be expected to know how to make wontons and egg rolls, right? Had zero clue. In fact, I was probably the worst cook in the kitchen. But what I did like was the camaraderie and the teamwork and the work ethic and what it really took to become sort of a well-oiled machine to put a final product like that out. What a lot of people don't understand is what you see on that plate took hours of prep work, hours of dedication, blood, sweat, tears, crying, cutting your finger, going to the emergency room, having to mop floors, paying bills, wondering how you're gonna pay those bills. All that type of stuff translates into that final plate that you see in front of you. So I think it's a lifelong, and I'm constantly learning, and you do that in this industry, and I think the best chefs are never done learning. The title of chef, sure, that can feel good, but it really doesn't. I mean, every day I feel like I made something worse than I should have, and I can always do better, and you need to continually improve on that and self-motivate. So, as you say, long-winded point to when did you decide that you wanted to be a chef? I think you have to decide that every day in your head. Like, this is what I love to do, this is what I'm motivated to do, this is what I'm trained to do, this is what I'm skilled at doing. And despite the bad stuff, you still wake up with that burning desire in your stomach of, I love to do this. So I think for some, they might find it early. For some, they might find it late. Some, they find it on Pinterest, and they find it on YouTube, and they say, hey, listen, I'm gonna do this cool little TikTok video on how to make something. That's cool. You're not a chef.
Right.
The chef part comes from, you work long 18, 20-hour days, 7 days a week. You grind it out in this business. You know, you get through pandemics, and you get through recessions, and you get through staffing issues, which is a current big thing. And you really have to be pretty thick-skinned and resilient. And I think is one of the big things in this culinary world, especially these days, that you're not going to find people to just do it for you. I went to culinary school and I got my degree and I'm a chef now and everyone pay me respect and come to my restaurant and eat because I'm good with making food. There's a billion other things that you need to be proficient at, not necessarily excellent at, but proficient at, and understand that to really be good in this industry. And you have to do it long term, because there's flash in the pan chefs, there's people in this industry that come and go real fast. Well, that wasn't for me. We'll figure that out now, okay? Because otherwise you're gonna waste a bunch of money, you're gonna waste a bunch of time, and you're gonna give up, and you're gonna say to yourself, man, I'm a great cook. Be a great cook at home. Be a home chef, you know? Make some great recipes and cook for your family. If you want to go into this industry, it's a whole different world. Say goodbye to your family.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to family barbecues, because you're working. When everyone else wants to eat, you're working.
So how do they, I mean, you just hit on so many different pieces there that I think is extremely important for anybody that's thinking of going into this industry. What do people that are interested in this field need to know? Like you just hit on, it's not, I'm just going to cook this meal and be done. So what makes a good chef? Like what can you give as examples, as suggestions on, you know, should they take business classes? Should they go and job shadow first? Like, how do they know how to be a good chef besides just the cooking piece, like everything else that you just mentioned?
That's a great question. I think I ask myself that every day too.
Yeah.
Like, how do I know how to become a great chef? I've been doing this for years and I still am trying to figure that out. Yeah. And I think it comes down to the things that I have figured out that you have to have the building blocks for are hard work, determination, resiliency, and the motivation to never give up.
Yeah.
Also knowing when to say when. There is something to be said about that too. But there are going to be countless days that you're going to hate it more than you like it. It's not the cooking aspect. You probably love that part, but make the same thing over and over again, you end up hating doing that. So you have to have a creative side that is smart enough to trigger, hey, what's burning me out? Is it the hours? Is it the financial component of it? Is it the business aspect? Is it the staffing? What is it? Because it's not just cooking by any means. You do have to have a strong business background. That is important. So I think equally important of going into the culinary side is shoring it up with a really objective and logical thinking, analytical process that's oftentimes developed in business courses. You know, economics, finance. You don't think that it's not very sexy or alluring when you think about being a chef, but when you have no idea how to run food costs or what the price of beef is doing, or even transportation costs. Gas is sky high right now. That's going to affect your restaurant. When you turn the news on and you see that diesel fuel is up $2 a gallon, you as a chef, if you have the business acumen, you understand, yikes, I'm probably going to get a surcharge on my invoice from the company I buy food from because it costs more to get the groceries to me, right? Equally important to that is that if gas prices are up, are your customers eating out as often because now their bills went up?
Yeah.
So do you react to that? How do you advertise more? Because that's all going to, in this big business interconnected cycle, affect you at some rate. Not just, I have great food, I have a great restaurant, come on in, and expect people to patronize you. If you have the business acumen and you say, listen, it's winter, gas is sky high, or beef is sky high, what do I do to counter these things? Or how do I schedule people down a little bit less? All business related elements rather than just, well, the chicken stock is perfectly,
Flavored.
savory and flavored for the day. I get to go home. Now you're worried because you wasted a batch of chicken stock because you made it incorrectly, and now gas is up, which will affect your business. So it's just such a multi-pronged role, I think, especially in this day and age where it's not the typical, I go in, I cook, I do my job, I go home. It never has been that. Watch any show on TV featuring, especially Anthony Bourdain. They'll tell you all the stuff, including what I'm telling you, that it's not quite as alluring as people think. Now, on the other hand, it sounds like I hate it. I love it. I love every single day. I love the challenges. I love the problem solving. I love the overcoming the challenges. Nothing makes you feel better at the end of the day when your plumbing went out, you had to call a plumber, you can't open because you have water issues, 3 employees didn't show up, your food truck is late, you got somebody else knocking on your door for some other issue. Meanwhile, everyone in the entire region decided to come to your restaurant that particular day. What do? And at the end of the day, you kick your feet up, take your apron off, and you say, man, I made it through another day. Somehow, I don't know how, and I get to do it another day. And oddly, you go, it's briefly satisfying, and when you see people that are happy and they're waving to you on the way out and they say thank you, or anniversary dinner was great, whether you're doing tacos or filet or ribeye or hot dogs, they genuinely had a good time. They picked your place, they spent money with you that they worked hard for, and they chose to spend it with you, and all of your efforts went into 15 minutes worth of satisfaction for them, right? It takes a long time to produce some of these really nice, intricate plates, right? But it takes them 5 seconds to destroy that beautiful piece of art on that plate. And you're like, oh my God. But when they did get it, their eyes are this big, they're tweeting it out all over the place, they're taking videos of it, and for a brief moment, you're satisfied. Until you're not, and then you move on. Because if you sit there and rest on those laurels and you say, look at all the trophies I have, or look at all the food events I won, that means nothing. Because internally as a chef, you have to say, my best dish is the one that I have yet to make. My best dish is the one I'm gonna do tomorrow. It's gonna be different, it's gonna be exciting, or maybe it'll be the same old thing. Maybe it's just a hamburger in a different way. And internally, you have to satisfy that drive and that hunger. And I think it's very much like an artist. What's the best painting they've ever done? The one they haven't done yet. Because all the other ones are just like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking over there, right? And it's this continual process, and you never really get to an end goal. It's more of a job. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle, and it's not a title per se, CEO, that you want to get to that point, and you have these certain duties, and you make a certain amount of money. As a chef, it's sort of a characteristic identifier, I think, where it labels you badly sometimes by maybe employees.
Sure.
Perhaps didn't like working for you. Badly, maybe you burnt the soup and they think you're a terrible chef. But internally, if you want to be it and you want to do it, it comes down to you have to self-actualize the role and say, listen, I'm the chef, I have no dishwasher today, I'm going to wash the dishes. Not, it's beyond me, it's below me, I'm a chef now. Well, you're the one that's going to have to do it because you are the chef. So if you can adopt that kind of mentality, I think you can be successful. I don't care how bad of a cook you are, it's the person that is the harder worker, that's more passionate about it, that really cares and puts effort into it and continually tries to improve that process. Personally, they're gonna outsmart, outcook, and out-succeed any other person that says, I got a degree, I'm a chef.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how that works out for you. Because the person that literally started hauling garbages out as a dishwasher that says, I'm going to be a chef, and works that path, I think ultimately becomes more successful. Ask any successful chef out there, and all of them will tell you, done it, been there. I was the guy getting tomatoes thrown at me by the chef when I started there when I was 16. Not that you can really do that anymore, but it used to happen. It was a thing, right? It was a hazing thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Happened to me.
Yeah.
I mean, dodge them. You learn how to be pretty shifty when knives are flying at you, so to speak. But nothing like coming back to delivering food and then coming back to a completely full dish room of dishes, knowing that you have 3 hours in front of you and you're in college and you just want to go home and party with your friends.
Yeah.
I wanted to as well, but you know what? You washed the dishes, you got it done, you came back the next day. And over time, you look back and you think, man, I made it. Now I get to tell that person, do those dishes.
Do those
I'm
dishes.
the chef. And then you realize it's 2021. I'm the chef. There's nobody standing there. I have to do it. But they still get clean. And you still get to go home and go to bed. So
I love that. I love so many pieces of that. Characteristics, hardworking. To be a good chef, you need to have done all the pieces. You know, I'm going to wash those dishes. I may have to be taking the orders. I may have to be, you know, being the hostess or whatever. I mean, you literally are doing every single role. And I think that's extremely important because I think as being a chef, you need to know how the restaurant functions. So having that experience and all of that only makes you better. Mm-hmm. I love that you mentioned artistic. So I don't know if a lot of people, at least I didn't, think of a chef as needing to be artistic. Can you go into a little bit more about that? Like, I think of a chef as, like you said, I'm going to cook this dish, it's going to be great, it's going to taste great, and then I'm done for the day. So tell me more about the artistic piece.
Well, I think a natural eye for appeal visually helps. And that can be taught, certainly. Placement of things, is it asymmetric, is it symmetrical? You know, something that looks good on a plate, but even something in a burger basket, right? So you get a Philly sandwich, it's in a burger basket, it's got a pile of fries. Well, visually, how do you make that appealing? You primp the edges of the liner up a little bit, you make sure the bun is maybe offset a little bit, they can see the meat product and the oozing provolone and the green peppers and onions, and as you can tell, I'm excited about a Philly. I kind of want a Philly sandwich right now, right? The fries are all piled in there, high and tight. They're not just spewing off the side. Is it visually appealing? That's art. Think about when you go to a diner and you get something that either just looks like they threw it in a basket or it looks purposely placed, whether you know it or not. And that's the key, is you don't want the customer necessarily to know. Obviously, fine dining, you can tell that they primped it and they placed things with tweezers in certain places. That's not all just being chef. But the artistic eye for that and the appeal is what is an internal thing. Like great artists, they can't tell you how to paint. Most of them can't even teach you how to paint. They just know how to do it. And they know what looks good, they know what doesn't, and they use that skill. And there is some inherent, I was born with it, genetic. I have a good eye for decorating a room. I'm an interior designer, right? And you wonder how, you know, this person's so good at placing the sofa and the painting and the colors and the matching. Maybe they went to school for it, or maybe they just have the ability for knowing what looks good.
Okay, I have to ask because I am a horrible cook. Horrible. Horrible. My kids tell me on the daily that I just should stop. But I have certain meals that I'm okay with. Now, everybody says cooking's super easy, you follow directions, you do this. No. I follow directions, I can follow a recipe, and it still doesn't turn out. So like what you just said, you may just have a natural ability. Do you have to have a natural ability to be a good chef, or can you be like me and just have to follow the directions and be a good chef? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. You know, I'll say that in the baking world, depends, like a pastry chef. Mm-hmm. And I respect them. I have mad respect for what they do, for the artistry they can create with candy making and sculpting sugar, basically.
Yeah.
Sugar sculptures are amazing, but that's very scientific. So you have to have ratios, proportions extremely on, otherwise your entire batch of bread could be off because you put too much leavening agent in it. Now a soup, you can get away with murder sometimes and be like, whoa, that is not what I expected at all. There's a little adjusting, a little more oregano, a little more basil, some bay leaf, always bay leaf. Why? No one can actually tell you, even the best chefs, but you know if it wasn't in there,
Okay.
right? Anyone ever tell me like, oh, this bay leaf's really prominent in this soup stock? Nobody knows that, but it does something to enhance it, right?
I love it.
So there's more leeway, I think, but I do think that there is something that people have a natural knack. It's like mom's cooking. Everyone loves mom's cooking. Well, obviously
Except not
yours,
mine, not mine.
right?
No. Mm-mm.
But how did mom ever know when those biscuits were done? She was taught that by her mom. So yeah, some of that stuff can be taught, but at the same time, it really comes down to a lot of what's in here. And teaching yourself. Did you use too much yeast? Did you use too much baking powder? Why did it do that? And then trying to unwind that and figure it out, and it comes back to that not ever satisfied problem solving thing. So if you're the terrible cook, to the point, and it's too salty or it's too this, whatever, do you have enough internal I'm going to beat this, and I'm going to teach myself. Why was it bad?
Yeah.
Asking. The chefs. People think chefs love compliments. No, I expect it to taste good. I want it to taste good. It's the ones when they're like, "This was terrible."
Oh, okay.
That burns you a little bit,
Yeah.
right? But you wouldn't be an artist, or you wouldn't be a true chef if you didn't go back going, "Why did they not like that?" Oh, they're a savory person, and it's not justifying it and saying, "Well, I know that was good."
Yeah.
But it's going back saying, "Wow, it was a little. I could see where it's a little too salty. I could see where I used too much beef base, or product that maybe I could adjust it." Now you're also cooking. You got to think in a restaurant, you're cooking for hundreds, if not thousands, of people per week. Probably millions over my lifetime at this point. They're not all going to think the same thing. So you have to be somewhat thick-skinned to understand that, hey, maybe your kids just don't like you, Mom. And maybe it's really not your cooking.
Well.
Right. And actually they're secretly going, "Oh my God, this hamburger helper was amazing, but we can't tell Mom."
We can't tell Mom.
We can't let it get to her head.
Right.
But there's people that just don't prefer certain things.
Yeah.
Why do you have your favorite restaurants, and why do you think another restaurant serving something similar isn't as good?
Right.
Maybe you just don't prefer that flavor profile. So at the end of the day, if you can get a majority of people to support the business that like what you do, you're going to always have haters. So get over trying to please everybody, because it's never going to happen. Never. I mean, I wish I could.
Yeah.
But you also have to have that internal burning, I want to please everybody. I do set out to do that. It burns me, it hurts me when I don't. And that's, I think, in the other, again, I'm running out of fingers here, but determination, passion, all that kind of stuff. Add in the fact that if you're a pleaser, then you probably have a good chance of succeeding in this business. If you're a taker, you won't be. In any relationship, right?
Interesting.
If you're a pleaser and you literally are like, let me use this. Think of Thanksgiving, and you're going to dinner and you're not cooking anything. And you're just gonna show up to Mom's house, 20 other relatives there, and Mom's freaking out the week before, probably the month before. She's got her little notebook, she's writing notes, she's doing all this stuff, she's gotta pick this up, she's gotta thaw the turkeys 3 days before. Mom's a chef at that point. That's what chefs do.
Yeah.
She's worried about the order, she's worried about the seating arrangement, she's worried if, Erica doesn't like too much turmeric in her meal. Like, why is that a thing? I don't know. But she's worried if Janie is a vegetarian and what she's going to eat. That Mom's a chef at that point.
Yeah.
She's coordinating, she's organizing, she's problem solving. She's only got an oven this big, not a double decker. You can't get 2 birds in that thing. How is she gonna stage this stuff? How is she gonna hold deviled eggs that shouldn't be at room temperature for overly long, right? The fridge is already packed full.
Yeah.
What is she gonna do? And you see these moms that solve this. She puts something in the deep freeze, or she puts something, it's, maybe you're in Minnesota and it's Thanksgiving. You can just put it out on your
outside.
patio.
You're so good.
Yeah, it's like 36 degrees. It's colder than your refrigerator.
Yeah.
But you do these things and you realize later on in life, Mom's a chef. Okay? She's tasting the soup and she's tasting the mashed potatoes. No, more butter. Did she follow the recipe like you? Maybe, maybe not. And she says, well, I have to adjust. These potatoes are starchier than the last one. And it comes down to that internally, she really just wants to please and satisfy her family.
Yeah.
She loves them, she wants to take care of them. And if you have that, and at the end of it, like a chef, she kicks her feet up, pours a glass of wine, and says, oh, thank God that's over. Don't have to do that for another year. Or at least until Christmas. Right? But the chef gets to do it every day.
I was going to say, you're doing it again tomorrow.
Right? So
Yeah.
mad respects to moms out there hosting Thanksgiving dinners. I feel you every day.
Yeah.
But it is that internal pleasing factor. And the moms also have to manage employees, i.e. kids.
Yep. Yep.
The partner, which would be the spouse,
Yep.
right? So they're out there doing all these things. They're completely a chef. There's a lot of home chefs out there that are amazing at managing their kitchens, so to speak. But they'll tell you that, Mom, how did you manage that Christmas where we had 40 people?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Whew, lots of Jack Daniels and extra gravy, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
it's because she loved you. It's because she loved what she does, and being a mom, being a chef wasn't difficult. It just came from here.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that's what'll get you through. It has nothing to do with the courses you take. It has nothing to do with how much money and what prestigious college you went to, because you can go to a community college for culinary, and let's say you pick up a few business courses, or you go to the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, in Hyde Park. You go there. But the person that went to SCC or went to the community college ends up owning 2-3-star Michelin restaurants, and the person that went to the CIA ends up burning out and bailing out of the business before they ever even own one. How does that work? I think it comes down to, I'd sit there and analyze them and say, well, listen, did the 7 days a week bother you? Did it bother you? And the one that it bothered, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
So it's like anything in life, that if you want it to work, if you want to succeed, then you'll make it work. Otherwise, this is not a job. There are plenty other ones out there that, whether it be trades or whether it be something else, that you don't have to necessarily have the passion. Maybe you want to enjoy it, you don't want to hate your job. Maybe there's great money, great opportunity. It's a growing sector. But solar panel replacement to me isn't overly attractive. To somebody else it might be. But then again, it might just be a job that pays really well. You install solar panels and convert somebody's home into a green home. That's great. There's absolute growth in that sector. It's probably going to pay you way more than being a chef. Okay, but if you're not passionate about that, and some people don't have to be, but as a chef, you have to be passionate. Absolutely, and things have to bother you down to the cleanliness of your restaurant, the look and attitude of your staff, the way that you carry yourself, all these things. And at the end of the day, there's not a lot of satisfying things. You don't get a lot of pats on the back. You think that you would, but you don't. Everything's your fault at all times.
Yeah, I can see that.
The food was bad. It was cold. My employee was rude. I wasn't waiting on you. If I waited on you, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But the chef's back there making the food, or managing the restaurant, or doing whatever they need to do. So, I mean, it's just a really all-consuming sector and profession. But at the end of the day, I've been in it 28 years. So if it's something that you think would interest you, my biggest recommendation is get a job at a restaurant. Crazy part is they'll pay you for it. So they basically pay you to figure out whether you like it or not. Now, do a good job while you're doing it. Doesn't mean use it as your experiment. Go out there and bug employers like, hey chef, how do you do that? How do you do this? You have to embrace the fact that you're learning what you're gonna have to do on a regular basis. Or at least your people eventually will have to do. Whether it's mopping the floors, whether it's seeing the chef paying bills in the office, or unloading a truck, seeing the process, or just getting the social interaction and experience with people and tables and learning how to deal with a difficult customer. If you can't even do that, you're not gonna make a very good chef. For $15 an hour or $10 an hour, you couldn't engage with somebody at, let's say, Target as a retail staff member. And all you were doing was complaining about your schedule, complaining about having to go help this woman find shampoo, or the guy find some beard lubricant, shaving lubricant or something, right? And that you're like, oh, my job was so hard. If you think that's tough, do not get in this business.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you go into it and you're like, hey, washing dishes is no big deal, it's just part of the job, comes with the territory. When do I learn something else? I want to learn how to cut peppers. I want to learn how to do this and this and this, and you constantly want to learn. Maybe you dip your toe in the water and get a restaurant job.
I love it.
I think that's one of the most important things too, is just you talking about passion. And the kids that I work with, they just want to walk right into being a chef, and you talking about that it's not just going to be you landing that awesome job. You're going to have to work yourself into that position, doing all these different things. The whole aspect of being a chef is not just cooking the food. So that passion portion, I think, is, I don't know, probably the most important thing in any job is if you don't have that passion, you might as well find something else. So I think that's important that, you're discussing, that type of skill that you need in order to be successful. So
I think true chefs will tell you, even though that they're considered, there's some that are labeled master chefs. Even the greatest chefs in the world, they're just normal people that will tell you all day that they think their stuff sucks. Straight up. Best chefs in the world, they're still probably pulling through McDonald's every now and then. Why? You do not want to go home and create that stuff for yourself. The best artists in the world probably don't have their own paintings hanging in their living room. They just don't. Are you that arrogant? Maybe some do. I don't know. But the best, absolute best chefs that I would consider the best chefs in the world, I'd love to have a drink with them and pick their brain. But they're not going to tell you a whole lot more other than, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm excited to do this. I'm not excited to do this. And I still haven't mastered my craft. It's like art. How do you master art? Are you ever going to be the world's best painter in your own head?
Right.
Even?
Yeah.
You just can't. It's an impossibility. And I think it's that allure of you can continually improve, you can continually alter and change and adapt and be creative, because the creative component is huge. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't do this either, right? But I think the best ones would tell you that they never get there. And during the way, you can master certain things. You can become a master of the dish tank. Like, I am so quick and fast. I scrub these pots to perfection, and it doesn't get any better. It's always dirty, but they're always clean. There's not a whole lot of, and you can become better and effective at it, and you can arrange your dishes better so that you can load them faster, and you can become a really skilled worker at that position. And once you do, you have mastered that skill, and you can now use that as a skill. Put it in your arsenal bag and say, anytime I'm gonna go in a dish, I'm gonna crush it, right? And then you move on. You're still gonna go back there, but you've mastered that. You go on to saute, or you learn grill, and you learn all these positions, right? But still, I can screw a steak up. The best chefs in the world can still screw a recipe up. And what is perfection with a recipe? What is that? There is no definitive answer for any of that. It's an interpretation of stuff. So even though you're a chef, you've never mastered being a chef. I haven't. I don't think any of them have. I've mastered the dish tank. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Jedi warrior when it comes to dishes.
Love it.
But it's time in there. It's practice. It's doing the job. And I can kill it today. I'll probably have to later. It is what it is. But
Final words.
yeah.
Final. If you wanted to talk, if you were talking to a classroom full of students that are like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be when I grow up. This is the path I want to follow. What would you tell them?
There's a lot more opportunity these days to go out and be compensated at the job level and not necessarily financially waste your time and feel that the restaurant industry has changed. And when I was in it back in the day, it paid pennies on the dollar for very hard work. And now, as society is changing, go out and get a job in whatever you want to go into, and you're most likely going to be compensated pretty well. Now, that's not for practice. They need you as a business to do that job. So do the job well, but in that process, now you're not just wasting your time going, well, I'm apprenticing at a restaurant and I'm barely making my bills. There's lots of great restaurant jobs that you can make really good money at washing dishes. If you can't even take that job, don't be a chef. Do not be a chef. If it is beneath you, if it is beyond you, and you never expect to do dishes, don't ever become a chef, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's far worse than doing dishes that you're going to encounter that you're never going to make it through. You're never going to make it through. That's the easiest. It's hard work, but it's the technically sort of mind-numbing easiness versus everything else that in your career that you're going to encounter. So it really is go out and I think apprentice isn't the right word, but immerse yourself in that world, whether it's a summer, but be upfront with your employers. You know, if you don't plan on staying in it, just be candid. Most of them will just say, hey, if you can give me a week, I'm gravy these days. Like, just give me a week, see if you like it, right? But you got to work it longer than a week to go, okay, I did it. Can you do it every day? You know, if you really want to learn something, how long? It's not a YouTube video. You can't jump on YouTube and learn how to be a chef. I'm sorry, you can't. YouTube watchers, you can't learn how to be a chef watching a 30-second TikTok video. It's not going to happen, even though they tell you can make this turkey like this. They edited everything. They fast forwarded it all. It's not that simple, okay? That's the same thing in this business. If you can be in it for a very long time and you work your way up from dish to set markers for yourself and goals, and if you can become a sous chef, if you can become just the head broil guy, and you can bang out 500 steaks a night at Texas Roadhouse without an error, and you love it, embrace that. You got to have a job, right? You might as well do and pair that with something that you're thinking about doing. Otherwise, you're going to waste the whole summer on a farm somewhere, combining corn, just trying to make money or detasseling or doing something. Not that I'm trying to talk anybody out of those jobs,
no, those are great
because
jobs.
I know you guys need them as employers.
Yeah.
And they teach a lot of work ethic too.
Yeah.
Point is, there's some things that you can just do just to make money, but if you're thinking about doing it, you might as well make money and also get the experience in it, and then also get a very good lesson in life that says, thank God I did that. I don't ever want to do that again. And I watched the owners with headaches. I watched the chefs with headaches. I watched all of the other, look for the bad stuff. Look for the bad stuff, not just the, ooh, I'm excited to do this. You buy a car, what do? You look at all the cool stuff, all the bells and whistles. Everybody's looking at the nav and the dash and the cool LED lights and the convertible top and the cool wheels. That's what they want you to look at. What you're not looking at is get underneath the car and really look at the guts of it. Do the math, do the homework, drive it around, see how it feels, okay? Diagnose some things of what are the downsides of owning this vehicle.
Absolutely.
And if you can get past that, you're probably going to be okay. If you do have to repair something, you expect it, you know it's coming. But it's funny that everyone does their homework on a new iPhone. All the new things that are in there, and why the iPhone's worse than the Galaxy, why the Galaxy is worse than the iPhone. But nobody does it when they go, I want to be a chef, and they invest all this money into time in school, and they get out and they've never even worked in a restaurant. And they go, geez, I wish I had bought the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to put in the effort for your phone, put in the time. And so, granted, it's an $1,100 piece of equipment these days, but this is the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So use that time wisely and get the skills that you need and figure out that, hey, thought about it, I guess I'll be a home chef. I'm going to go be an electrician instead because I like wiring or I like the process of problem solving and that thing. Kind of like a chef, but I don't have to cook.
Right.
There's no dishes to do.
Right.
It's different. So whatever you do, at the end of the day, just do you, be passionate about it. And jobs, I'm not passionate about it every day. Okay? It sounds preachy. I'm not. There are days that you want to give up, take your chef's coat off, burn it. Burn the restaurant to the ground. Insurance company, I hope you're not listening. I did not do that intentionally. But there are days that you just do not want to do it. But that's when you figure out on your worst days, they're your best days. Why? Because you still rolled out of bed. You still did it, and then you realize this is what I love to do, and I can't see myself doing anything else. And if that's the case, no matter what, then I think you have your answer.
I love it. Chef Toby, thank you so much. Thank you for talking with us.
Honored, humble.
And you probably have some possible dishwashing opportunities here in the future, right? If not right now.
We do 131 West 2nd Street, Suite 105.
We will be contacting you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.